Hey everybody, welcome to another Photographer's Favorites episode where I pick 5 of my favorite photos and my guest picks 5 of his favorite photos and we talk about everything we love about them. Today I'm happy to have Matt Sullivan with me. How's it going, Matt?
It's good.
Nice. Have you been doing much photography lately or not so much in
No,
the winter? Yeah, not for
no.
you, right?
I haven't, other than like a brief hiatus in Florida, I don't think I've taken a picture since probably October.
You had some
And
fun in Florida though, didn't you?
Florida was cool.
Yeah.
It didn't go all according to plan. We had some cool stuff canceled because of the
Oh
weather,
yeah.
but we got some cool stuff and just spring's on the way. Yesterday was like a tiny little teaser. It was like sort of warm enough to almost
Yeah.
be outside with just a
Yep.
sweatshirt on. And then today it's back to
Yeah. Yeah,
whatever ridiculous
definitely.
freezing temperatures. Now we're getting more snow for the rest of the week. So
Are you getting more snow by you?
yeah, we're supposed to get snow Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then more next week. And I'm over it.
It's unbelievable how New Jersey just has like a line though. Like all that is pretty much forecast to be rain for me, you know? And I
Yeah,
mean, what are we like an hour and a half apart, if that?
if that.
Yeah. It's
Like
crazy how that works.
one of the guys I work with is probably 40 minutes south,
Yeah.
and every time we get snow, he gets rain. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
It's nuts.
it's it's maybe 20 miles, but it makes such a difference for
I know.
whatever
I'd much
reason.
rather get the snow too.
Well, yeah, for you.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. You ready to get in the show?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's do it. So we'll start with the first one you picked. Damn. Man, the colors on this is like the first thing that jumps out at me. What is the manta ray?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? You know this. There's different species of manta ray?
There's at least two, maybe
Okay.
three. I know
Okay.
there's some like recent work done on them that might have split them up into three, but there's reef
Okay.
mantas and oceanic mantas that I know
Okay.
of, and this one's oceanic. So they're the
Gotcha.
big one, the real big ones.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. And the color pattern on the back of it is just incredible there. Absolutely love the just soft gradient of blue there. And then how like this arch is just perfect. Like the arch of the fish there, all kind of swimming away from it. And I mean, they look a little bit big. Is that the prey for the species like this?
No, so mantas are filter
No.
feeders, so they'll eat
Yeah. Tiny
microscopic things you
stuff,
can't
right?
even see.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's a small in the frame, in sort of because the manta's obviously the subject, but it's so tiny
Yeah.
in the frame. But then it's perfectly counterbalanced by that like
Exactly.
arch of the fish. And mantas are I've never seen one. They keep eluding me. Uh,
Oh,
but so every time I see a manta image, it's a little bit of a dig at me. I take it a bit
yeah.
personally. But then this one's just I mean, then there's a million manta images out there, but this one's different because usually they're filling the frame or something
Yep.
like that, and this one just has that tiny in the frame and then perfectly balanced with the school of whatever kind of fish that is. It's like some sort of jack, but um,
And just incredibly clean, clear water. I mean, to get it
yeah,
far, that I mean, it's pretty far away at that point, you know. So got to be incredible visibility right there.
yeah. Socorro is known for big animals, and it has
Okay,
ridiculously clear water, way off the coast of Baja,
gotcha.
and that area is like the place for giant oceanic mantas. Um,
Nice.
so, and then there's nothing out there except rock, like a couple rock pinnacles. So there's nothing to really like make the visibility
Oh,
for.
okay. Oh, that's
Um,
cool.
yeah, so
Gotcha.
it
Yeah,
goes
very cool.
forever.
Yeah, you know what? It's great. You mentioned the like how these fish balance it, and that's such a great point because if you try to imagine this photo without those fish there, the shot as it is like totally off balance. Like
Yeah,
the manta would be too far to the right. It would be like too much space over here, but with these fish, it really does. It's an absolute perfect balance. So it's kind of cool how it takes an additional like a secondary element actually makes what would otherwise be a somewhat awkward composition and makes it perfect.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty neat how that happens. All right, cool. Let's hit the next one.
Dude, he okay, I talk to him a lot. I'm in a group chat with him and one other person. So we're
Okay.
always talking. I remember when he first started doing all the camera trapping and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And when he got that, and up to that point, I don't know if he'd ever been really happy with any of those pictures. And then he got that one, and I
Yeah.
remember him sending it. And I was like, damn, he's got to be stoked with that because you can see the entire silhouette. You can see
Yeah.
every single whisker. The tail's in a cool like that upward curve.
Yep.
And I don't know how exactly he did it because I can't understand that, but And it says in the caption, one of his flashes didn't work, which
Yes.
ended up, I think, benefiting this because
Agreed.
I mean, sure, a little bit of fill flash could have been cool, but the result is remarkable. And I
Yeah.
don't know if I've seen an image quite like that other than stuff he's sent us since then. But
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. You know what? It's funny. That is a great point about the caption with the flash not going off. I think it's a shot that works both ways. It's just a very different shot at that point, you know?
yeah,
Yeah. Like this is just so much more. This just screams so much more night and like mysterious to me. You know, it's more. It makes the what is it? It's a Cape York rat. Yeah. It makes it seem um more kind of like it's sneaking around than
yeah,
if it was lit.
you can like picture the darkness, the nighttime, the rat scurrying around, all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
totally. Yeah. And then I love that he left some space on it too. You know, it's not
Yeah,
just like filling the frame there. It's a great balance of black space up here. Because obviously, like, it could be a quarter of the size of that and it would still stand out like crazy because there's nothing else lit in the photo, you know?
yeah, exactly. And the
Yeah.
rim light's just money.
It's so good. Yeah. And it's different than almost any rim light I've ever seen because most of the rim light I see anyway, and most of the rim light I shoot is based on the sun.
Yeah,
And the sun can never really be almost never below the subject. It's almost always coming in from the top. And so to see this light, like the light source is obviously coming from underneath because it's a little bit brighter there than it is up top. It's just a different look to it as well. And it really helps to kind of highlight that curved tail because it's kind of lit from underneath like that.
the curve of the tail is probably my favorite part of that whole thing. I just
Yeah.
the fact that it's up, because I think if it was flat, I think
Yeah.
maybe that black space up top might be a little too much.
Yeah.
Just that little bit of a curve
And
really
it's
adds.
walking down in an angle as well, which is
Yeah.
nice. Yeah. And the curve is almost an exact match for the curve of the back. Like, so
Mm.
there's just like repeting patterns there
I hadn't
with that
noticed that,
curve.
but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really cool stuff. It's
I
amazing
hope he
stuff.
appreciates me being nice to him.
Yeah. I will say, I did have to tell you to keep it nice. This is insane. Like,
Yeah.
what is even going on there? Like, so much going on. And I'm sure you'll be able to fill me in on some info here, but so neat how these look like the same thing as the squid, but then obviously I guess they're not. And it's just it's so in your face, which is what I
Yeah.
really like about it as well. And great color scheme. And how cool that, I mean, yes, these are kind of colored back there, but most of them are all white except for the ones that are like right in the middle here, like right in your face, you know? And
Yeah.
then they have that color change going on, which I'm guessing this is some kind of mating situation here.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
California, and I guess it used to be before overfishing, it used to be a lot more prevalent, but there'd be an enormous squid run every winter from like Monterey down to SoCal. And you'd have these market squid by the millions
Wow.
that would just mass breed at night, and all the things on the bottom are their egg cases. And
That's
that's an interesting
okay.
point that you brought up about them being the same shape as the squid. I hadn't really ever thought about that.
Yeah.
But then yeah, the red tentacles are the males. The males fire up
Okay.
during mating. They'll go essentially just grab a female and mate with her, and then
Yeah.
they both, after the females lay eggs, they die. The males die.
Wow.
But it's one of those things that I never got to experience, unfortunately, which I really would have liked to. But it just seems like complete chaos.
Oh, it's got to be,
In the
right?
water,
Because these
'cause
things are fast.
yeah, there's squid bouncing all over you, all over the
Yeah.
place, and there's a million images from this particular run because it was in Monterey, which is a popular spot for underwater photography.
Okay.
Um, but I loved the little bit of light he got coming in from the top. I don't remember
Yeah.
how he said what that source is, but like you said, he got the three main ones are all have the red right in front, and like there's a
Yeah.
couple ones in the back that have it too, but it draws you right into the center of the frame, whereas if they were
Yep.
white, it might not do that.
Yeah.
So I think that's and actually the two males right in the middle there are both grabbing the same female. So there's a
Oh,
little
yeah.
bit of a cool behavior. Well, cool for us as the viewer,
Yes.
not cool for the squid, but
Yes.
cool behavior going on too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 100% agree, man. Without that color being so just centered right here, I think your eye would just kind of wander the scene a little bit more aimlessly. And having that color there really just pulls you right in. But then obviously you still can, kind of see everything else that's going on in there.
Yeah.
Since I've never been in the water and shot anything in remote like this, whether it be squid, fish, anything like that. And when you're in something like this, have you been in just like a big school of anything? Is it incredibly noisy?
Not real. Well, no, not really. It's just kind of strange because like you would think if you're on land and you're surrounded by animals like that, it's going to be some sort of noise.
Yeah.
But other than like the noise of your bubbles, there isn't much. I mean, I've done salmon, which was in schools like that where you're in shallow water, you're essentially
but that's running water, right?
Which is super noisy.
Sure.
And underwater, there's a lot of noise because a lot of times you have waves or something like that. But something like this, it's deep. It happens down probably below 100 feet. So you're not really getting wave noise or anything like that.
Okay.
So other than your flashes and your bubbles, there's not really any noise.
Wow.
Which is kind of counterintuitive when you're looking at it.
I would think so. Totally.
Happening, you would feel like there'd be the noise to match, but
sure,
there isn't.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know if I guess it has to be it has to be a mountain behind it.
Yeah, it's bosky.
But when you first look at it, it almost looks like clouds.
Yep.
Or that's a really cool image. I mean, everyone's seen 1,000 images of sandhill cranes from that place.
I know.
But I like this one because you actually have to look at the background almost more than the bird to figure out what it is.
Yeah.
And I do like how the wing is. You get every single like finger extended, which is really cool. But to me the background makes this because you can put that bird on a normal like sky and it's gonna be like
exactly.
But the fact that it's framed against the bright part of the mountain, which looks like to me like a cool pinky. Well, I'm colorblind, so I'm going to say pink. I don't know what's pink.
It's yellowish. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like an orange. Yeah.
Yeah. So against that orange cloud, whereas if it was a bit lower, you just kind of lose it in the brown. I'm going to go out on limb and say.
Yep.
So I think that's really cool. They framed it against the upper half. I don't actually know who this is. Oh, so framed it against the upper half.
Yeah.
Where the bird stands out, and you could still, in theory, think that's probably the sky.
It's really abstract back there.
Yeah, and I do like how the frame is almost split between the bright and the yellow and the brown. I'm still struggling with those colors. That's a cool sandhill crane image, and like I said, I've seen 1,000 sandhill crane images, so a good one.
It's tough to come up with a unique one from there.
It's tough to come by to get one that's unique or stands out at this point. But I think he did a good job with this one.
Yeah, I very much agree. Yeah. Ramesh is one of my mentorship students. He didn't shoot this with me. He shot this before we started working together. But I love everything you said about it. I think it's so cool too how there's like almost like a little bit of a V in that light to dark difference there, and then this wing comes right down into the point of it. Oh, yeah. So it's just like a nice kind of pattern of how that works there. And that the fact that the darker bird is kind of against that lighter part works just perfectly to help make that bird stand out. Dude, I had no idea you were colorblind.
Yeah, so I can see color, but it's not not well. So a lot of these like subtle, not super in your face colors are hard for me to pick out.
It's impressive that you do as good with your editing then, with your post processing. I just don't
touch colors.
Yeah. Just let it go.
A lot of times I won't touch them and I'll send them to somebody and they'll do like, why is that purple? I'll be like, I didn't know it was purple. And I have to
totally
send it to them 3 more times before I've gotten color right.
Gotcha.
But it's like I said, I usually just don't touch them, so I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
And most of the stuff I shoot is flash lit, so it's
that
not
helps.
like there's going to be a cast.
Sure.
Usually, so I don't typically don't have to worry about that. Which is nice. That
makes sense.
But especially for the few times I do birds or anything with ambient light, there's always that question of like, is that looking normal to other people, or is it just looking normal to me?
Sure. Yeah. Real quick question. When you're doing the flash underwater stuff, I assume, are you setting a manual white balance or are you letting the camera go auto white balance on that? And it just
auto.
So it just picks the flash white balance.
Yeah.
Probably
so usually the flash is going to be, So this underwater strobes have, I mean, and land ones too, I guess, do have different color
You
temperatures.
can, yeah.
So you can set, sometimes I'll set the Kelvin setting on
Yeah.
whatever camera I'm shooting to
To
match
match.
whatever the strobe color is.
Yeah.
But I usually only do that if I want a specific like background watercolor. So if there's
Gotcha.
really green water, really blue water, I'll set it accordingly.
Okay.
Otherwise, I don't usually worry about it and just leave it on auto.
Well, because the other thing is, especially underwater, the distance that flash is traveling through the water, it's changing color at that point. It's going through the
Yeah.
water, it's getting filtered. So, that white balance might be a certain thing when you're flashing it really close, and it's going to be more accurate to the actual temperature of that flash. But as soon as you put some distance in there, it's probably changing anyway. So it probably makes sense to leave it on auto.
Yeah, and and especially underwater because light absorbs so quickly, it doesn't take very far for
Yeah,
that to change.
exactly.
So it's easy to just leave it on auto unless you have a very specific, like there's been a
Sure.
couple of times when I'm like, I really want a specific color blue because to me it looks like that, but the camera's not picking it up.
Yep.
So I'll
Yeah.
change the Kelvin to until it looks like that. And because
Yeah.
the strobe light's going to be white anyway, so it's going to light whatever the subject is up normally.
Sure.
And then you just want the background to be a specific color. But yeah, it's
Do
different
they
than
make
using flash on land.
do they make underwater gels for the flashes?
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of people
I
just
guess it would just be inside the flash housing, right?
there's some that like screw on,
Okay.
and a lot of people just DIY it because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
And it's so unusual. I mean, it's not so unusual, but most people just don't bother with it
Sure.
unless you have a specific image you're going for.
Well, because I know, like on land, I used to shoot when I do portraits. I would shoot portraits of people in like an overcast day, and I would throw a heavy orange gel on it. And then when I white balance for that, it would just make the sky go super deep blue, even though it was just like a gray overcast day. So I think you'd be able to like mess with that underwater and make water more blue or whatever if you wanted to by mixing in that flash. So I was wondering if that was even a
You
thing.
definitely can do that. I'd say the filters that I see used more often are for things like fluorescence and stuff like
Sure.
that, which,
Yeah.
but I haven't delved into that.
Okay.
And like you said, there's plenty of times when you can throw a filter on if you really wanted to, but typically
Yeah.
it might be easier just to either use the Kelvin setting or if you know how to do it in post, do it in post.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm horrible at correcting watercolor in post. So usually I hope I can get it right in the camera, but
Gotcha. Well, and I guess adding more things, you got enough to worry about with the underwater stuff as it is. So adding more stuff is probably less than ideal.
Yeah. The only time I would use a filter really would be if you're shooting ambient light without strobes and you're down below a certain depth. Then you would put it on the camera versus using a strobe to bring some of that color back. But that would be the time I'd use it most frequently.
Gotcha. Cool. All right, let's hit this. Back to another underwater one. Man, this is like such a graphical image. Just the lines and the curves are so cool. I love how the first thing that strikes me is how it's like everything is a big curve here, but then these are perfectly straight. Like they're like hard straight lines almost, that kind of just like dissect the whale there. Absolutely love the second one coming up in the back with the bubbles off of that too, which is really neat. And then such an exaggeration, like this photographer was close because you can see how wide, like fisheye, this lens is, just because of the curved surface of the top of the water like that. So it's like, man, he was like that flipper right there, that fin is right there, man. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The overhead lighting on this is just so beautiful and soft though. I mean, like you can see the shadow of the whale itself on this fin. But it's like such a soft fade right there. It's not like a hard like line that you would get, on land. You would just like sun like this would probably be just like a hard, nasty shadow, but underwater like that, it's just so soft and pleasing. It's beautiful, man.
The cliche is to say that whales look like they're dancing, but it looks like he's like mid pirouette with the way his fins are, and it's just such a perfect moment.
Yeah,
like it's just a perfect moment. Like you said, the lighting's perfect, the position of the fins is perfect, the whale blowing the bubbles in the background is another secondary element that makes I think makes the picture better.
Yeah.
And I actually I don't know if I've not been to this place, so I don't know. I actually like the muted watercolor more.
Yeah.
As opposed to it being bright blue, because I think it adds a bit more mood.
Agreed.
because I mean, and I think it also stands out amongst other humpback whale pictures because the watercolor is not pure blue. I kind of, and I like I said, I think it makes it look a bit more moody.
It's more relaxed feeling than that like
Yeah,
vibrant in your face blue.
yeah.
Yeah,
It looks like just such a it. There's not much to say. It just looks like
yeah,
such a peaceful moment to me. It's just a
totally peaceful.
perfect
Yeah,
moment.
yep.
Um, and it, yeah, I mean, it perfectly timed, perfectly captured.
Yeah, and you know what else is really cool about it too? Like the more I look at it, well, two things. The first thing, I didn't even notice the color difference there until you said it, and then once you say it, it's just so obvious,
Yeah,
that there's just a difference in the mood because of that kind of more muted color. And then secondarily, I love how this, very still, very sharp, no motion blur capture still captures motion. Like there's such
yeah,
movement to this photo anyway, because of just the curve of the body, and then the fact that like these fins almost look like they're kind of like in different directions. It's like spinning itself, like
yeah.
you said with the pirouette there. So there's such a sense of motion to this image, which is really cool.
And I do like the subtle reflection on the surface.
Yeah,
It's super subtle, but I wonder what it would look like without it, and I don't think it would look as nice.
yeah,
So I like that as well.
yeah.
It's such a
Especially right over here. Yeah,
right in the middle.
yep.
Um, and it's such a different experience than my only encounter with humpbacks.
Oh, is
So
it? You've
like
only had one?
I went to Norway in 2019 for orcas and
Oh,
humpbacks. We
that's
saw a ton
right. I
of both.
remember that story.
Yeah, when I almost got swallowed. But so like this is such a contrast, same species, but such a
Yeah,
contrast to my one experience with them.
yeah.
And it's like this is I don't know. It's almost like it evokes an emotion for me.
Very
This
much.
this image does. Just
Yeah.
everything about it.
Yep.
I've seen 1,000 humpback, well, more than 1,000 humpback whale pictures, and
Yeah.
there's maybe three that I can think of that to me stand aside, and this is one of
Hmm.
them. That's
That's
just
always the challenge in any kind of photography,
yeah,
just doing something unique that stands out, man. And when it's done well, it really does stand out, and it's a hell of an achievement. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Hmm. See, that's an example of taking one of the most common
Yeah.
birds, at least in the U.S., and turning it into like that's secondary. The fact what it is secondary to
Yep.
the pose, the light, the water droplets flying off the wings, the symmetry of the wings, the backlight coming through it, the rim light around the head,
Yeah.
and nobody like who cares that it's a mallard? Like,
Exactly.
yeah, it would if it was a redhead or a canvasback, it would be lost because like that's not the point of the picture anyway.
Correct. Yeah.
This could have been any duck, and the fact that it's a mallard just I think makes it even better because
Yeah.
you took something super common and made it art.
They're so overlooked as well.
Yeah, dude, they're beautiful, but they're
Yeah.
too common.
They are.
And
Does that happen with
I
underwater
like
stuff too?
what's that?
Does that happen with underwater species
Yeah,
too? Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
There's
I
stuff that's
figured.
been photographed a million times,
Yeah. And
and
you're
we're
just like,
eh.
whatever.
But it's really cool. But it's just like, eh.
Yeah.
And I like the kind of ethereal light too in the background. Like
Yeah,
that
he's
was
really
black.
good with this. I see it in a lot of his images, the kind of gradient, like the light
Yeah,
to dark kind of fade that he's got going there, man. It gives some real good direction to the light. And then I also love how I think it's like it must be like in the middle of molt or something like that. Like it's not even
yeah,
a clean like green head. He's all kind of roughed up in there anyway. But the duck still looks beautiful. If this was like a
yeah.
front lit portrait, you'd probably just be like, oh, what's up with that duck?
Yeah, exactly. even even if this was like a clean black background, it'd be like, oh, that's a nice image. But I think having the light in the background,
Yeah.
or the lighter colored background, makes it better.
Yep. Yeah, that nice little bit of flare up there, and like
Yeah,
real soft bokeh ball up there, just like little elements that add to it, definitely.
it's just
Yeah.
it's a unique take on something that you see every single day and you overlook every single day.
Yeah.
And then but it's
Well,
and
and as most bird photographers know too, to get your subject to be perfectly parallel like that to the camera in the right direction you need it. Like so many times you can see this kind of thing happen, but the bird's face too far away or too far forward towards you, and you don't get that nice profile and like the wing symmetry, like you said. I mean, these wingtips from the back one and the front one are almost exactly matching. It's just incredible that the symmetry is so clean there. That getting that angle is just like, that's an achievement in and of itself.
And like this isn't the kind of thing that you can just like, I mean, maybe it is, where you just like happen to see a mallard and aim at it right as it does this. It's like the kind of thing where you just sit with a mallard and wait for it to happen and hope that the light lines up when it does.
Totally.
Which takes some real dedication to sit with a mallard for however long this took to get.
Yeah, exactly.
Worth it though.
Or it's the kind of that you're photographing the other stuff and then the mallard does something cool and you're like, oh, all right, I'll grab this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be interesting to know which it was. So maybe we'll find out.
Hope.
Unbelievable, man. The first time I saw this, I specifically didn't even comment on this photo because I knew you had it coming up when you had chosen it quickly. And so I wanted to kind of just give my first impressions and comments on this photo when we did the show. And you can't say anything more than the fact that this thing looks like one of the tree knots. Like that is what makes this photo, man.
Yeah.
Like it's so cool how well it shows the camouflage. And the fact that it's like that these tree knots are round right there. And I mean, there's a second one up there. It looks like maybe there was a third one down there. So it just fits right in. And if you glanced at this photo, you would think it's just the tree. Yeah.
The first time I saw it, I'm like, why is he? Because I know Nick posts bird pictures and I don't know him, but I follow him. He's a fantastic photographer. I'm like, why is he posting a picture of a tree? And it takes you a second. And I don't know how he found this thing to begin with, because if I'm walking through the woods and I see that, I'm
no kidding,
past that tree 100 times out of 100.
Me too.
But then it's just, then you see it and it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I don't care. He got the owl in the tree, which is, it's cool because it's an owl. Then he got not one other knot, but 3 other knots that are almost the same exact shape as the owl, which is just ridiculous. I'm like, how does it happen? I mean, there's, again, an example of something that's been photographed a million times.
Totally.
And he did it in a way like, and I'd probably be guilty of this too. I wouldn't think to compose it like that. I'd zoom in on the owl. Like,
I was just going to say the same thing. Yep.
But he got it. He had the forethought. Is that the word?
Foresight. Either one.
To frame it in a way where it's prominent in the frame and it's still so well camouflaged.
Yeah.
Which is just such a cool picture. And then I think that the decision to put it in black and white makes it even better, because I don't know if it was a red phase or a gray or not.
I would love to see it in color just to know and see if the camo pattern works as well in color. That would be cool to see. But yes, the black and white really does. Just, it makes it so much more about the patterns than any color in the image. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, it would still probably blend in pretty well. They're not known for being prominent birds or easily seen. Sure. But yeah, the black and white taking all of the color out, it makes it much more graphic.
Yep.
And it's just such a cool shot.
It shows how perfect their camouflage is for the trees that they hang out into, you know? Because if this wasn't, like you said, how do you find this? How do you find that?
I have no idea.
You know?
No idea.
Yeah. It's hard to see. It's almost hard to see the bird looking at it in the photo of the bird that we know is supposed to be there, let alone just walking through the woods to find that. Unless he knew it was in the area, or maybe it was a red phase and it stood out a little bit more, you know? But man,
like, especially because you think about how big they are, that curled up, the thing's what, the size
so
of like
tiny,
maybe your fist, maybe a bit bigger.
Yeah.
It's not a big tree.
No.
I mean, the only way I'd ever be seeing that is if it's red. And even then, who knows? Because I don't know what color the bark is. It could be a brown tree and that thing could blend in perfectly.
That's true too. Yeah.
But it's just, it's such a cool. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, that's my favorite screech owl picture I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like hands down.
Yeah. And I wonder how much he worked around, like picking a side on this tree to shoot from, to make sure to include these knots there, because if you go over to the left a bunch here, these are kind of all going to be on the right side and not as kind of prominent and important, so to me, the shot really shows some, like you said, the foresight and the thought to compose it that way. And even to pick the right angle to realize like, oh, these are a really good match for the bird. You know, I
And I
think some
hope
people
he,
might find the bird and just overlook that.
yeah. I hope he, that's what I'm going to say. I was going to say, I hope he either leaves a comment on this or messages one of us letting us know how far into his photography session did he decide to like frame it
Yeah.
that way versus having the bird big in the frame or
Yep.
whatever composition he was. I'd love
Yeah.
to know how long it took, or if he saw it right away, it was like, I need to include those
Sure.
tree knots to
Yeah.
make this thing next level.
Sometimes that does happen, right? Sometimes you get to an image and then like the image is just there, it pops into your
Yeah.
mind. But then other times it's exactly that. Sometimes you have to work a scene for a while before you really find the amazing shot. And
And
for
then
me,
when you
more
see
often
it,
it's the latter. You know,
yeah, and then when you see it, it's so obvious. You're like, I
right?
just I spent all this time
Isn't that
getting
crazy?
shots that I'm never going to look at again for this one.
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy how that works sometimes. Sticking with some owls.
And you're not an owl guy, so I'm kind of,
No,
and you
yeah,
picked one, which is pretty cool. I think we have
yeah.
another one coming up.
It had to have some dramatic light. That's
Oh,
why.
well, yes.
Yeah.
I, this is another example of when if you shot this thing head on
Yeah.
with the light, it's going to be like every other pygmy owl, well, not every
Exactly.
other pygmy owl shot, but a lot of other pygmy owl shots.
Yeah.
But side light, and it's almost sort of backlit to the point where all the little pine needles stand out.
Yeah.
Whereas they wouldn't if you shot this thing head on. And then I like the fact that the owl's looking into the light, so it's not looking at the photographer. So it looks like it's just doing its thing.
Yep.
And you just have that little bit of, I assume it's morning light or well, it has to be one of the two, last evening light.
Yeah. Yep.
Just catching the eye. You can see you can see the beak, which is cool, which kind of gets lost sometimes if you're seeing them head on.
Totally. Yep.
The beak's almost a bit rim lit, and then obviously has a studio like look with the pure black background.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. And that's a bird I'd love to see, but I don't see it happening anytime soon.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said, man. Yep. Those were all the exact reasons I picked it. You know, it just, that side lighting has become such a favorite of mine to work in lately. It's just so dramatic. It's really, that's exactly what it is. And just to be able to get that black background naturally. And I love that about it. When you get the lighting just right and it's strong on the subject coming in from either side and not hitting the background at all, it's so cool to me that you can just expose properly for that, the light hitting the subject, and then just get that studio background without having to mess with it in post or do any kind of crazy edit. Like that. That's what it is. That's a really cool lighting to play with. So,
it's a fine line too, because sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
It's a fine line too, because if that sun's a little bit more this way, you lose. First, you might lose the black background. You'll lose every individual needle, and if it's too far the other way, you lose a lot of the detail on that side of the owl's face. So, if this thing is turned a little bit differently, or if the photo's taken a few minutes too early or a few minutes too late, it's going to have a dramatically different look that might not work as well as this does.
Yeah, and that's one of the fun challenges I like is the head angle of your subject is so utterly important. I was working with Ramesh, actually, the photographer earlier. We were photographing hooded mergansers the other day, just a couple days ago, and similar lighting. It was like the first 10 minutes of light streaming in hard left, and the birds were swimming all around. We had a bunch of them in front of us, and it was gorgeous light, but it was so precise. There was so many photos that you look at after the fact where it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frames where the angle isn't just right. Then all of a sudden it turns his head like a couple of degrees different. And then boom, there's the light in the eye on the side of the face. And then the next frame it goes back. And it's just incredible how precise that has to be. And I love that challenge about it. And he nailed it in this shot.
He did. It's awesome.
Yep. Yeah. Nice. Oh yeah. And it's the same species too.
Yep. This for comedic purposes, purely, this is my favorite pygmy owl shot ever. It's absurd.
Well, and skill to get that thing bulleting off of like that, and that's what's in focus. Like he's got the bird in focus, not the tree. Like you can look at the tree; it's a little bit soft in some of these areas. Like that is so difficult to get. So many bird shots I've had, even when I'm ready. And it's like, all right, I see it taking off and you start rattling off some frames and it flies out of the focal plane and I miss it. Like it just happens every time. So the fact that Theo nailed this in focus like that, coming right at you, and wings closed make it. Like that's, if the wings were out, it's just another bird in flight. But the ball that thing
I
is
know.
hilarious.
It looks so mad. It looks
It
it looks
does.
like it's coming for him, like Theo did
Yeah.
something wrong, and the
Yep.
bird's coming to get him. I mean, he's one of
Oh
my
man.
favorite photographers, period.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's hard to pick a favorite. And
Yeah.
I had actually picked another one first because I forgot about this one, and then I
Gotcha.
saw it and I was like, it has to be that because it's such a ridiculous picture, and
Yeah.
I've never seen a pygmy owl picture like that.
No.
It's it's
And
and you're
probably
right.
never will.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because to get that thing, it's coming at him and it's in focus, and
Yeah.
it's not like it's a slow animal.
No.
It had to have happened like that, and he got
Yeah.
it, and
Yep.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. It
But
really is. And I love that it has some background back there too, just to kind of
yeah,
break things up a little bit so it
yeah,
makes the bird stand out even more. And like the head angle couldn't be any more appropriate. Just dead on, eyes
yeah,
coming in, like you said, angry expression. So yeah, there's a lot of personality going on in the shot.
and it's so goofy looking. It's just
It
little angry.
is.
It's like an actual angry bird,
Yes, it is. It
real
totally
life
is,
angry
man.
bird. It's so
Yep.
cool.
Yeah, that's great. All right, we'll wrap it up with this one.
Another example of a super common subject, but a really cool image.
Yeah.
I mean, at least super common for like the Northeast U.S. in
Oh, totally.
winter.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, it's
They're
a
everywhere,
yeah, but it looks like a fine art image almost.
right?
It's a blank background, which is really cool. Nice to see it white instead of black.
Yeah,
Because usually when you see super clean backgrounds, they're black or blue or something like that.
sure.
Um, but you can tell it's winter. Like the plants
Yeah.
are dead. It's just white. The
Yep.
birds are a little bit hunched up
Yep.
from the cold. There's almost no color in the picture, which I like. Without it being a black and white, there's like three
Yeah.
colors. There's
Yep.
gray, white, and beige.
Yeah.
Um,
You nailed it.
I love the fact that the birds on that one like dead stalk that's
It's
going
perfect
the
placement
wrong
of the
way.
bird.
What's that?
Perfect placement of the bird.
Yeah, and I like that it's looking into the frame versus the other way. It would
Yep.
still be a cool shot probably, but not quite as impactful, I think, had it been looking out instead of back in. But it's just it's a cool image. I don't know what's going on in the bottom there, why it's blurry, but I actually down by the bottom of the
Yep.
plant, but I like that too because then it draws
It's
your
foreground
attention right
snow.
to the bird. It's really cool.
Yeah, she had some snow in the foreground there. So Susan's another one of my
Okay.
mentorship students, and yeah, when she first showed me this photo, I was just blown away. I was like, "This is insane!" And this is backyard bird photography. Like
Yeah.
that's where she shot this. That's what she's been doing, and yeah, like she's been shooting this backyard stuff for a while. And I've been talking to her about it, like, all right, let's keep pushing, get more creative. And then she dropped this one. I'm like, yep, you're done. Like, check. Yeah. You did it. Like, hands down, my favorite image of a junco I've ever seen, just
Oh
like no
yeah.
questions asked right there. Just the daintiness of this perch, like how thin everything is, and it just shows how light these birds are. And yeah, I agree with you. I like the fade and the snow from there was snow in the foreground there. I know that because she told me exactly, showed me like the setup and everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, just a super clean, high key. And yeah, it's almost like a black and white image without it being one, which is
Yeah.
really cool. So
I'm not usually a fan of high key stuff, but this one works really well. And obviously the small in the frame is
yeah,
I've grown to love that as well. When you like you always talk, whenever you start out, you're just trying to fill that frame with
totally.
whatever your subject is, but it's actually much more difficult to make a compelling image with something that's
Yep.
tiny in the frame and still make it not only viewable but enjoyable to look at.
Yeah, to make it still the subject.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like, there's no doubt, your eye goes right to the junco,
Yeah.
and then it kind of starts wandering around. But that's really cool that despite how small it is, it goes right there.
Yep.
And then the rest of the frame is still engaging while being kind of sparse, but you still end up looking at everything in there.
Totally, man.
Which is really cool.
Yeah. Nice stuff, dude. That's a wrap, man. Excellent. Cool. Yeah, where's the best place for people to follow your photography online? Right here on
there.
Instagram? All right. Perfect.
My link to my website's on there, but
cool.
My Instagram's updated more frequently, and hopefully with the winter slowly fading, I'll have some more stuff to post, but
yeah,
it might be slow for another few weeks.
I was just gonna say, yeah. Do you have anything planned coming up, or just it's all based on weather and like what's
Mostly
next for
at
you
this point,
seasonally?
yeah, mostly at this point based on weather. The first thing that'll happen, salamanders will start moving soon, which I'm looking forward to.
Okay.
Um, but obviously with COVID, it's hard to plan anything significant.
Yeah.
So we'll see as the year progresses what happens. But
Yeah.
I have some things percolating that
Nice.
we'll see if I can make them happen. But for now, I'm just looking forward to salamanders and the lack of snow.
Yeah.
That'd be a good start. I'd take it.
I'm the complete other way. I want more snow right now. So
Well, yeah, that's fair. Although you head
yeah.
to Florida soon, though, right? You'll be in
Yeah, like
the
mid March. So
sunshine.
I'll still be here for the whole month of February,
Oh,
and then a
gotcha.
little bit into March. Yeah, then head down there for about 3 weeks, and then as soon as I get back, man, it's like right into warblers. So like it's gonna come back and just slam right into spring, which is
Yeah,
gonna be cool. I got people. I'm like booking people. I'm running out of days soon for warblers, which is awesome.
that's cool.
So yeah, yeah. You just put out a workshop the other day, right? That you're going to be 2022, is it?
Yeah, so I have two going to Namibia next year,
Nice,
in March and April. I think those are almost full.
nice.
And then I just put out God's Pocket, which is still up in the air, which is in Canada. It's still up in the air because
Yeah.
Canada's borders are still
Yep.
closed, and I know they had to cancel a bunch of the trips this year
Yeah.
already. So I'm assuming by August 2022 we'll be allowed in Canada,
Yeah.
although
I would
who
hope.
knows?
Yeah, I
Um,
know. Yeah.
but yeah, so I just put that out too. That's a dive trip. The Namibia one
Nice.
is mostly reptiles and landscapes, but you can see the one of
Yeah.
the landscapes right there. But there's also big animals and um, birds and things like that. And then I have a few others that I'm going to be scouting
Okay.
in the next hopefully year to
Nice.
start doing stuff after that as well. But
Awesome,
yeah,
man.
to start those two big ones, and then we'll see if I can do some local stuff eventually.
Sure.
I'm planning on moving to warmer climates relatively soon.
Okay.
So that'll
Which
be
is better
easier
for
to do.
you, for what
What's
you
that?
photograph mostly. That's better for
Yeah,
what you photograph
yeah.
mostly. Other
So I
than the
might start
cold
doing
water
some more
stuff you
local
do.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. You do
Um,
like the cold water stuff though, right?
I love cold water stuff,
Yeah.
but
But you got to
well,
travel for that anyway.
New Jersey has cold water, but it's not the right cold water.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'll be in warmer water. But once travel is allowed again, I'll be in
Yeah.
cold water whenever I can. So
Nice,
uh,
man.
maybe get
Awesome.
eaten by more humpbacks. We'll see.
Sounds good, dude. Well, as always, I look forward to seeing what else you come up with, man. So,
Right on.
thanks again for joining me, man. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching. And we'll have the next one on Saturday.